Toby threw it right back on my lap. Well, Andretti's wife, Deanne, was sitting next to me, and I asked him what I should do, and she said double it, and Mr. Ferrari agreed. The next day, I got a telex from him saying let's just leave things alone, because he'd just had a visit from Colin, who'd follow me at Maranello and raised hell with Mr. Ferrari. Can you imagine? So I told Colin he'd always been good to me, but you don't want an unhappy driver. Then I told him I wanted 10,000, a point you got 9 points for a win back then, and he had to agree. Which was just a fantastic quote from Mario Andretti. In 1978, the Lotus 79, designed by Chapman, exploited ground effect even further. Andretti dominated the season and took the title with 6 wins. He clinched the championship at the Italian Grand Prix. There was no championship celebration, though, because his teammate, Ronnie Peterson, crashed heavily at the start of the race. He was hospitalized and died that night from complications resulting from his injuries. Andretti found little success after 1978 in Formula One. He failed to win another Grand Prix and had a difficult year in 1979. As the new Lotus 80 was not competitive and the team had to rely on the Lotus 79, which had been overtaken by second generation of ground effect cars. In 1980, he was paired with the young Italian Elio De Angelis, and briefly with test driver Nigel Mansell, but the team was again unsuccessful. For the 1981 season, Andretti decided to move to the Alfa Romeo team to run by Carlo Chetti. Although the car was reasonably competitive, Andretti finished 4th on his debut with the team in Long Beach. A general lack of reliability resulted in yet another unsuccessful campaign. Like other drivers of the period, Andretti did not like the ground effect cars of the time. The cars were getting absurd, really crude, with no suspension movement whatever. It was toggle switch driving with no need for any kind of delicacy. It made leaving Formula One a lot easier than it would have been. But he also had some brief returns with Williams and Ferrari in 1982. So the next year, Andretti raced once for the Williams team, and after their driver Carlos Reutemann suddenly quit before replacing the seriously injured Didier Pironi at Ferrari for the last 2 races of the year. Suspension failure dropped him out of the last race of the season, but at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, he took pole position and finished 3rd in the race. There was almost a return in Formula One for Andretti at the 1984 Detroit Grand Prix. When the Renault team put him on standby to replace regular driver Patrick Tambay, and the Frenchman had been unable to race, as was the case at the previous race in Canada. However, in the event, Tambay was able to take part in the race. Andretti was also considered as a replacement, again for Tambay, who had been injured in Canada. At the 1986 Detroit Grand Prix, this time for Carl Haas, owned Haas Lola team. Andretti declined, but recommended his son Michael Andretti. When Michael was unable to obtain the FIA super license required to allow him to race in Formula One, the drive went to Eddie Cheever. And although Mario was successful in the world of racing, he was getting older, and in 1994, he would retire. Andretti now lives near his grandson Marco in Bushkill Township, Pennsylvania. His late wife, Deanne Nee, was a native of Nazareth, Pennsylvania, who taught Andretti English in 1961. They were married on the November 25th, 1961, but sadly she died July 2nd, 2018, following a heart attack. Andretti has remained active, though, in his retirement from full-time racing. He made numerous speaking engagements to audiences and is serving as the spokesman for Texaco/Havoline, Firestone, and MagnaFlow Performance Exhaust. He was occasionally a spokesperson for the now-defunct Champ Car World Series, though he frequently attended IRL races to watch Marco compete. Andretti is vice chairman of the winery named Andretti Winery in Napa Valley, California, and he owns a chain of gasoline stations, as well as a Toyota dealership in Moon Township, Pennsylvania, car washes, car care products, go-kart tracks, a clothing line, video games, and replica cars. He also test drives cars for Road and Track and Car and Driver magazines. In 2006, Mario was named the Carnegie Corporation to the inaugural class of winners of the Great Immigrants Award. In July 2006, Andretti took part in the Bull Run race across America. The first pit stop was at the Pocono Raceway in Andretti's home state of Pennsylvania, with gate number 5, aptly named Andretti Road. Since 2012, Andretti has been official ambassador for the Circuit of the Americas and the United States Grand Prix, promoting awareness of Formula One in the United States and all forms of motorsports at COTA. He received the American Award of Italy USA Foundation in 2015. And with that, Mario Andretti leaves behind one of the greatest careers in all of racing. It didn't matter what kind of car, it didn't matter what series, Mario Andretti would drive and Mario would win. And that's what makes him one of the most fantastic drivers to ever live. A true legend and an American icon. Mario Andretti.